Okay, am I on? Okay, I'm assuming I'm on. I see several of you streaming on. Can y'all hear me? I'm doing like streaming software. I got photos to show. I feel like I'm a gamer streamer here. Uh, yes, you're on. Hello. Hey from San Antonio. What's up, Mo Casey? Daisy, yes, I am Dr. Christie's husband. We've been married 22 years. Thank you for your support. If you're following my wife's channel as well, it's been a huge blessing to our family. Dang, I got all kinds of comments coming on. Okay, so uh, live Q&A. We're going to do that in a little bit, but I thought I'd share a couple stories from my summer with really two lessons that I think I could pass on as an older brother, as a friend who's gone through some things. I seem to learn a lot by making mistakes. So I didn't even mention this, but while we're waiting for the rest of the crew to jump on, mic up a little. Can y'all hear me? I see Braveheart Tutor saying mic up a little bit. Can y'all hear me all right? If not, I could pop the AirPods and go with the internal mic. Would you guys comment if you can hear me okay? I would appreciate that. I'm not hearing Clear Lake, Iowa from Joe Larson. What's up? Gabe Hammond from SLC, Honduras. Oh my gosh. Dang. Okay. It looks like we're all right. How do I feel about cookie cutter production homes? Ooh. Maybe we'll answer that one later. Loud and clear. Okay, Raymond. Thanks, Raymond Castano. Sydney Bass, thank you for your support. I see a little BS logo on there, which means that you've been a Build Show supporter for a long time. All right, so two quick stories before we get in. First off, before I get into my truck and accident story, a little update on me personally. I'm in a rental house now. This summer, we went on a giant 3 week vacation. Never taken that much time off before. And I think you guys probably know that I sold my house in the spring. My new house I thought would be finished like in the summertime period of time. Of course, the pandemic has screwed me up in multiple ways, including trade base and suppliers and that sort of thing. I'm sure you guys are experiencing the exact same thing. But we were just experiencing a ridiculously hot market here in Austin, Texas. So I said, look, uh, I want to go ahead and sell my house earlier than my wife wanted me to. She really encouraged us to wait until the house was totally done and moved in. And I was worried, well, something might change in the marketplace. Plus, frankly, I needed the money to use on the house. Like I had my construction loan set from the bank, but I didn't have money for landscaping, and I wanted to do a nice landscape package. And I also wanted my wife to have a furniture budget and some things like that. So I said, honey, I know you don't want to do this, but I really feel strongly that we should sell the house. So I sell the house in February, and the new owners at the time are like, gosh, we can wait until you're ready to move, no problem. So we move forward in the contract phase, and they come back to me and say, hold up, the bank tells me that I need to only have a 60-day lease back in order to not be considered a rental property. So I said, okay, I'll sign that because I thought I'd be out in like at that time like 90 days. So I didn't think I was frauding the bank by signing that, knowing that I might need a little bit longer. Long story short, or short story long, as the case may be, uh, I totally screwed up and signed a 60-day lease back. And my new owners really wanted to move in much more than what I thought they had told me. So when we were getting ready to leave on this trip, and here, I guess I closed in like March 1st, let's say, and we got this big trip coming up in July. Benny, the dog, is itching to go out if y'all can see him back here. All right, Betty, I'll let you out, buddy. Um, so my owner's like, Matt, you really need to be out. Your lease is up. This 60-day lease is up. And I was like, oh man, really? I really need longer in the house to finish my new house. And they weren't budging on this. And in fact, they came back to me and said, well, if you need to stay, your new lease price is this. And it was a really high number. I won't tell you how high because I don't want to disparage them, but much more than I wanted. So long story short, my in-laws, I said that multiple times, sorry. My in-laws live here in Austin, Texas, and they said, hey, you can move in with us short term, knowing that it'll be maybe 30 or 60 days. This is the house that my wife grew up in, so there's still bedrooms available. They live in way too big of a house for a 70-year-old couple. And I haven't told anybody this either. I'm actually building them a new house. If you've seen the videos about the T-stud house, that's actually my in-laws' house. I'm building that for them. And that's actually about 3 blocks from my personal house under construction. So that's going to be super cool. I'm excited about that. Sorry, I'm ignoring the comments for a little bit here, guys. I'll get back to the comments, I promise. But we go on this amazing trip, and here's where the story comes in. I bought this Lance camper. Here's the picture of it. Right around the start of the pandemic. I think I actually bought it last April. And it'd been something I've been thinking about for a long, long time. You may have seen the videos. I made a couple videos about it. Kind of a lifelong dream to own one of these. I bought it, was super excited about it. And my wife and I took a bunch of trips. Now, you're seeing my Tundra in this photo. But really, my main car at the time was this, a 2016 Suburban with a 5.3 engine. I love that truck. That was a great truck. My wife hated it though. It was way too jacked up looking, even though it wasn't. It was the Z71 package. And it had a bumper replacement. So she she did not like that truck, and she would not drive it. She actually kept her minivan, even though I had hoped that she would take over the Suburban after I drove it for a little while. So uh, the Suburban had a hard time pulling when we went on some trips through the West. And so I said, all right, honey, I'll get you a new Suburban. We'll get the one that you want. We'll get the nice package. We'll get the one with the cushy suspension, all that kind of stuff. So at the beginning of this year, we bought a 2021 Suburban, and it was pretty hard to get. This is kind of before it was totally crazy. Like at the time, I'm not sure that they had the chip shortage that they do now. So we bought this thing and promptly took it on. Well, by the way, I debadged it. I don't like all the badging that any car manufacturer puts on. So if you notice in this corner right here, there was a High Country there. I got rid of that. And there was a Suburban logo here. I got rid of that. There's a little tool you can buy on Amazon that you can chuck onto a drill, and it looks like a big eraser that spins. And if you use a heat gun on low, you can pop those things off. And then this eraser you chuck with your drill basically pulls all the residue and the gunk up and just debadges it. It looks awesome. So I got my wife's truck looking awesome. We load it up. We go on this amazing trip, and I had this bike rack on the back of the Lance camper. Awesome rack, Velociracks, fairly heavy duty, 6 bikes. We could fit all 6 bikes on, and we're traveling to go to California. Well, here we are, like 30 minutes out of town, or maybe not even. And I started to get some trailer sway. You know what I'm talking about? Where the trailer kind of wags a little bit. And I'd had that once before on the trailer when I had this bike rack on. It scared the living daylights out of me. And so we promptly stopped at the next town. And believe it or not, I rented a storage unit in Fredericksburg, if you know where that is, about an hour outside of Texas, and said, let's get rid of this. This is causing trailer sway. I don't want to mess with it now. We'll figure it out later. Okay, so we go on this trip, had an amazing time. California is amazing. Hit the desert on the way, but this is what we look like. I really had nothing on the back of the trailer at this time. I had a 5 gallon gas can because, oh, by the way, my 6.2 liter engine is pretty thirsty. And I actually ran out of gas on my way to Joshua Tree National Park. I'd exited from Arizona. I had a full tank, and I wasn't really paying attention. And all of a sudden, I realized, gosh, I don't have any cell service, and I'm having a hard time looking out. Hey, what's the nearest gas station? And I'm looking at my mileage gauge, like 150, 125, 100, and thinking, oh goodness, I'm not going to make it to the next big town. And not only that, I had no cell service. There was no, there was no, I couldn't look anything up on my phone. My buddy had just given me a satellite phone, Tim Hill. So I had a satellite phone back in the Land's camper, but I ran out of gas 30 miles outside of Joshua Tree, the town where the park is, basically. And luckily, I had my, actually, that's not true. I didn't need my sat phone. Cell phone worked right at that time because I was just a certain distance away from town, 25 miles at this point, 30 miles, that allowed me to get cell service. So we get back from California. This is in the spring, and we're thinking, okay, we want to go on this big trip, 3 weeks this summer, and we made an epic trip. I mean, my wife did an amazing job planning it. I can't even remember all the parks. I'm gonna look it up here real quick. RV trip 2021. So we went to Rocky Mountain, Grand Teton, Yellowstone, Glacier, Grand Canyon, and then Palo Duro National Park. And I know I've got this epic trip coming up, so I really wanted to have my Suburban and all my bikes, all the goodies. I knew I was going to have to dry camp a day or two. I got my Champion generator in the back. I wanted to have some water, some gas, and I've got a good friend of mine who's really excellent with trailers, grew up on a farm. And he says, okay, Matt, load it up the way you want it on the trip. And we're going to go up to the scales about 15 minutes north of town. I live kind of central Austin, North Austin. We were going to go up to these scales that were in Georgetown, if you know this area. Load it up that way. I'll double check your load leveler hitch to make sure everything's dialed in. If you're not familiar with the load leveler hitch, it's when you've got a ball in the back of your truck and a trailer that locks on like this. The worry about trailer sway is that the weight on the back of the trailer is going to make your ball pop off. And when your ball pops off, things get really wonky really fast. So this load leveler hitch is an extra arm that goes on the side like this. This isn't the model I have, but it's two extra arms that connect on the side of the tongue, I guess is the right word, and help to level out the load and put more weight on your front tires. I need this for my Suburban because I'm kind of at the max weight on my Suburban for towing capacity. My trailer's about 6,000 pounds dry, and I guarantee you I've got another 1,500, 2,000 pounds of junk in there, and 8,000, maybe 200 or something was my Suburban max towing weight. So I'm already making a mistake here by maxing out my towing weight. And remember, this is on the back of the Lance. So we pull out of my driveway. We're headed towards the scales, and I'm about, I don't know, 15. I'm on the highway going 60, 65, and I'm in pretty good shape. I got my Suburban here and my trailer back here. We're floating along good. I double checked everything before we left. Everything was connected correctly. I have a brake controller on the Suburban, which if you're not familiar with, it's a button you can squeeze so that the trailer brakes will go off even if your truck's brakes aren't. The idea being if your trailer starts to experience some sway, if you're pulling that trailer and you lock just these back brakes, that sway will come back into line. And I've used that in the past, and it's helped me on trailer sway issues. So we're in this setup. My Suburban, the new one, the 6.2 liter, the thing's like 3, 4 months old at this time. And all of a sudden, I'm going not that fast, 64, 65 miles an hour. My trailer starts swaying, and my heart, I'm beaten. And I immediately grab the brake controller and squeeze that thing as hard as it can. And like my heart starts skipping because the trailer is still wagging, and now it's wagging so much that my Suburban is wagging, and now I'm on the verge of pooping my pants. I mean, guys, I can't tell you how scared I was. My Suburban is wagging. My trailer, this Lance camper, is wagging, and it is not in control. And this is a total God story. I swear that God put the guardrail in at the right time. I'm able to like get the car towards the side of the road. No one's around me, thank God. But I'm worried I'm gonna flip. And remember, I've got that load leveler hitch on, so if one or if my trailer flips, my truck's coming with it. And so I'm doing this wagging maneuver, and as I'm in this position, if this is my Suburban, boom, I hit my Suburban on the guardrail, and it slows me down. And I didn't take any pictures at the time; I was too freaked. But here's what we here's what we did. This side of the Suburban hit first, and it's a little hard to tell, but that rear tire, that rear axle, I thought it was just the wheel. I didn't know what was kind of tweaked in, and maybe you can see it better in this photo. You can't see it as super well, but see how that back corner right there? If you can see that, that's like pushed in a couple of 2 or 3 inches. And then after my rear hit, then the front of the Suburban and the trailer whipped around and hit. So there's the front of my Suburban now. The wheel, the sides all damaged. Now you can see this. I don't know if you can see it very well on your screen, but see this? That's kind of cocked right now. There's my daughter going looking at the damage. My camper, in the scheme of things, wasn't terrible. It's not great. This light was whacked out. This door doesn't work anymore. This damage was pretty gnarly, but I mean, not terrible. It's still usable. It's still drivable. My front jack got pretty messed up, so I can't put that jack down without manually doing it. But the point of my story, the moral of my story is a couple of things. Number one, be really, really cautious about trailer sway, guys. You really need to make sure that your tongue has proper tongue weight on it, that you're not unloading that ball. Because once your ball gets unloaded with weight on the back of that trailer, that sway is way too difficult to get under control. So, yes, I was making the right decision going up to the scales, but no, I was not making the right decision by knowing that I had some sway issues with this setup to begin with. The other thing about that Suburban is it's not a solid rear axle anymore. They've gone to independent rear suspensions, and I've got the air suspension on that thing. So I really think that uh, it's not the best towing vehicle when you've got a heavy one. You also need to make sure you're not at your towing capacity. Just because they say it's an 8,000 pound towing capacity doesn't mean that that's what you should be towing. It's not wise to over exceed any of your capacities on anything you've got. And the low leveler hitch, where's the dog? The low leveler hitch maybe helped, uh, but in that instance, it sure didn't. So, my big trip, we didn't have the Suburban. This is my 2500. I took this picture at some point for something else, and this is what I drive these days. It was absolutely perfect this summer. We had an amazing trip. Now, bikes was a hassle though, because I had that rack on the back so that I wouldn't have to put a rack on top of my Suburban. But when I got my sliding bed cover, I got one that had this track system, and I bought a fairly expensive Yakima system for the bikes. And you know what? It turned out awesome. I absolutely loved it. This is my wife and I pulling out of the neighborhood. All 6 bikes in the back here, sliding bed cover, generators back there, firewood, fire pit, chairs, Yeti cooler, snacks, bike helmets. My 8 foot bed just swallowed it up. Totally waterproof. All these are lockable. And that stiff suspension on that Chevy 2500. made the trip just a whole lot different than what it could have been. Here's my setup right there. Uh, can you hear my wife's voice on this video? I don't think you can hear voices from videos if you play them, can you? The airbags cancel out the equalizer hitch, Brian says. That's interesting. I could see that. This was like our very first night out on the trip. And man, we hit all kinds of stuff. We had an absolute blast. Now, my trailer's not behind me, FYI, on this picture. But we started at Rocky Mountain National Park. If you've never been to Rocky Mountain National Park, amazing. This is one of the kind of back roads that you can drive, and there's snow-capped mountains at the top. And check out the elk I'm zooming into right there. And if you wait a second, I'll swing around to the camera to the other side. And there's two massive, like 6x6 bull elk just hanging out in the meadow for anyone to see. So Rocky Mountain was just an absolute treat. And this is the building that's at the top of the Rocky Mountain National Park summit. I'm not sure what that area is called. What a cool building. And also thoroughly set up for snow too. Check out the snow dogs that they put on that Alpine Visitor Center. Just some massive trunks. I was really, I absolutely loved it. I'd only been there once before, but it'd been some time ago. My son also caught an awesome rainbow trout. And speaking of rainbows, check out the rainbow we saw on the way back to the campground where we stayed in Estes Park one night. Double rainbow. Reminds me of that silly video about double rainbows on, on YouTube. You guys have probably seen it, right? Someone said they're looking at the 2445. Who was that? That was Ken Mott. It's a great model. I really, really like that Lance. That thing is a fantastic camper. Do you guys know the Mesgers? Luke Mesger, he's a builder here in Austin. They're good family friends of ours. And Luke was like, "Oh, we got to stop at the Museum of the Mountain Men." I was like, "What the heck is that?" Turns out it was a blast. They had a bunch of people camping around there that were like mountain men recreators, and we just had a. This is it right here. I think that's when I was there, July 11th, at the Pinedale Rendezvous Campgrounds. It was a blast. And then on to Grand Teton. I got to start making a little bit of a mustache. I kind of missed that. I need to grow that again. And there's my buddy's camper, which is funny because Luke has the Bullet and a similar Suburban to my old Suburban, and he doesn't have any trailer sway issues. I guess that Bullet's just set up differently than mine. There must be more weight forward of the tongue or forward of the wheels than mine, because he never once experienced any sway, and my sway was ridiculous. Oh, I never finished the story, by the way. Um, so I take my truck into the dealer, and I was thinking, oh, how bad could the damage be? It'll be like, what, 2 or 3 weeks to fix the body, or a month. Well, they call me back after a week and they're like, Matt, you actually damaged the frame on the truck. The axle bent the frame or something like that. I don't know enough about it to understand, but it's a $35,000 repair, and I dropped it off before I left in July, and it's still not back yet. So July, August, and now all of September. It's been in the shop for 3 months, and I still don't have it back yet. Um, I'd like to do a little poll. Let's see if I can do that real fast. Is there a way to do a poll here? Let me see. I would like to know if you guys think, let's see, let me go to my YouTube dashboard here, live streaming. Let's see if I can do a poll real fast. Hang on 2 seconds, peeps. Poll. I'd like to know if you guys think when I get my Suburban back, should I keep it or sell it? When my Suburban gets back. Okay, hang on. This poll will be live in 2 seconds here. I'm curious. Okay, take the poll, people. Tell me what you think. I'm curious. Sell it or keep it? I'm already seeing in the comments. James, Dan Curry, sell it. Sell them. 46 of you voted already, and sell immediately is 91%. That's hilarious. Traded in for a Mini Cooper. I don't think so, Nicholas. I think I'm going to sell it immediately. I'm worried that, man, if they took that thing apart like they're telling me they did, how could that thing possibly be a shell of what it was before, uh, knowing that that much happened? Anyways, let me quick finish up a couple of photos from the summer, and then let's get on to the Q&A portion because some of you guys had some great questions. But went to Jackson Hole. This is from oh gosh, where is this? Grand Teton? Grand Teton? Is that the one that's up there on the way to Canada? Gosh, I can't think of it. Anyways, oh, this was cool too. Check this out. Concrete tilt wall outhouse building the National Park Service had. I think this is at Grand Tetons. What a cool little building. Even with fake concrete or fake stamped um, cedar shake roof. From a distance, looked pretty darn good. I bet most people wouldn't know that that was concrete siding and concrete roof, but I liked it. That was a neat little deal. Old Faithful erupted. I got a bunch of photos and pictures of Old Faithful. That was super fun. This is the lodge that's next to Old Faithful. I can't remember what this one's called, but really pretty. The one bummer on the trip was that we had to go 3 and 3. You know, I got 4 kids, so Matthew, my youngest, poor kid, was strapped in the center, and my wife wanted me to get a 3-point harness for him. So I bought that on an aftermarket place. Poor kid was strapped in all summer next to my wife and I. We ended up doing 5,200 miles and like, I forget how many hours, around 84 hours of driving. We went from Texas all the way just shy of Canada. We were like 2 miles from the border and all the way back down to Texas. What an amazing trip. That solo stove was really fun, by the way. I liked it a lot. I'd seen a bunch of ads and wanted one, and finally got one for the trip, and it is pretty darn smokeless. It's pretty cool. It's a fun little toy. There's all the bikes and all the junk in the back. Morning Glory pool. Oh man, Yellowstone was awesome. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I made a video about my lodge tour. That was fabulous. That old lodge just had so many gorgeous things from the 1910, I think is when it was. I hear the dog whining. Let's let him back in. Here you go, Benny. Yeah. Anyways, I think that's about it on this slide deck. Yeah, that's it. All right, y'all. Let's go back to the questions, shall we? That I kind of queued up here. Let's put that over here and go to community tab. I'm gonna go look at chat for a second here. Ocean of Maya, yeah, they totally took advantage of me, I assume. But yes, insurance was awesome. USAA is my insurance company. They're amazing. I love those guys. Hopefully they don't drop me after that. But yes, they took care of it. I had $1,000 deductible, paid that already, and USAA is paying the rest. They're amazing. Still sucks though. I don't have it back. I've been without for 3 months. Luckily, my wife's minivan, she has a 2011 Odyssey with 160,000 miles. We never sold it, thinking my 16-year-old, or my 15-year-old, my daughter Olivia is turning 16 in January, would drive that once she was able to drive. So we've kept it. And now my wife's been driving that. So I don't know what we're going to do, though. I think that I'm going to get a new Suburban. But comment if you think there's other vehicles out there that you think could fit a family of 6 and be 4-wheel drive. But I think it's probably going to be Suburban. Get an older Suburban, put a Duramax in it. That's awesome, Joel. I'm glad you're on, Joel. Good to see you, brother. Good to hear from you, I should say. Lord Schwartz, Odyssey Club forever. Brian, I have not gotten the camper fixed yet. Um, I have insurance on that too, but the hassle is they want to send it all the way to California to get it fixed, and I don't want to be without it for 4 months. So I don't know. There aren't any current 3/4 ton Suburbans, Mr. Fulmar, but someday I hope that they will. Not yet. Okay, let's see where are we at, people. Let's go to Q&A, shall we? I posted 10 hours ago now that I was going to go live. Thank you for all of you for joining me. And a bunch of y'all had some great questions. So let's start with Scott S. Scott says he's buying a builder grade house. What upgrades would I recommend, including potentially what mechanicals? So, Scott, the big thing when you're buying a production builder house, a house that you don't have a lot of options in terms of really dictating how the house is going to get built, is you want them to do things and pay, and you want to pay for things from them that you cannot do easily later. So, for instance, insulation in an attic. Let's say if you have vented attic, traditional attic, and they blow an R30 up there standard. They want to charge you, 2,500 or whatever dollars to do an additional attic blow up to R50, let's say. In theory, that's a good idea because extra insulation is always a good one. But that's something you could do later. And by the way, go check out my Insulation 2.0 video. We want to really focus on as much air sealing as possible. And if you can, I'd highly recommend doing some of that yourself during the course of construction. You could easily get in and use some Prosigo Fast Flash or some Prosigo Joint and Seam on the outside of the foundation where the foundation and the framing touch, for instance. You could, if they have a traditional drywall lid, you could get up and use caulk and sealant and spray foam and make sure all the wire penetrations through the top plates going to the attic are fully sealed. That's something that you could do. They wouldn't care. They probably wouldn't even know if you came in on a Saturday to do that. On the other hand, things like an upgraded HVAC system, if they're going to give you a builder grade HVAC system, I'd totally do that um, as an upgrade now, because if you have a real basic HVAC system, it's not economical, not feasible, not smart to rip that brand new out. It's only when those things are 10 years plus old does it make some kind of sense to pull a unit like that and upgrade it, or maybe even 15 years old. So if you can go from, let's say, a standard unit to a higher efficiency gas furnace, like a 90+% efficient gas furnace, or if you can go to a standard single stage to a dual stage AC, I would do that. On the other hand, you could retrofit later, assuming you're in the South, a dehumidifier and do that pretty cost effectively, maybe even do it yourself. So do those kinds of things. Another upgrade that I wrote down is you might consider window and door package upgrades if that's something you can do. For instance, if they've got a real basic vinyl window and you can upgrade to a nicer product, that's money well spent because pulling windows and doors on a new house is ridiculous. And if you could have them do that during the course of construction, you're going to get potentially a nicer hardware, maybe better U factors, maybe a better SHGC, maybe some other bells and whistles. And nicer windows and doors, I think, make a big difference on the overall feel of the house. Lastly, I want to mention if you can, and this goes for any of you out there, if you can use aero barrier during the course of construction, absolutely do it. Go check out my old videos on them, but it's AERO barrier, aero barrier. They make an incredible air sealing, and they are just absolutely amazing people. So I would I would highly recommend you guys get air barrier to come in and do your house. There are some production builders who are offering that as an upgrade, and I would do it. There is an option for you potentially, though, to not move in when the house is done and then get area barrier to come in and do the house at the very end. Not ideal, much better to do it earlier, but that could be an option. Okay, let's see. Uh, Next up, Josh Hartness from Haas Energy. Josh started a new company pretty recently. He wants some tips for getting started and especially staying organized. Sorry, y'all. Wasn't expecting some noises from the house. Thought the kids were asleep. That's why I did it at 9:30 at night. Uh, Josh, that's a hard one for me because I'm actually not the most organized guy in the world. That's why I'm glad that my company has gotten bigger, and I haven't had to do all that organization myself anymore. But when I was younger, or younger in business, one of the things that I was really, really big on was making sure that I was as personally organized as possible. I was a big fan of using paper organization systems like the Daytimer system. I still use that to this day to keep notes and stay organized. I've moved my business really onto two software apps. I use Buildertrend and I use QuickBooks, and those sync pretty darn well. And Buildertrend is really how I organize all my jobs these days, and has made a big difference in my business. I think that that could be an option for you as well as a smaller contractor. Um, yeah, hopefully that helped you. Let's go down to the next one. Let's see here. I think I got Scott's already. Okay, here we go. Will said, I'm planning on upgrading a builder grade single family home that was built in 86 in the Northern Virginia area. Roofing and siding are 20 years old. HVAC and water heater are 15 years old. Windows and doors are original. What should I prioritize, and what are your good, better, best upgrade strategies to get the envelope into the 21st century? Well, this is a hard one because, to do it right, it is probably going to mean stripping the house down to the studs and potentially stripping everything off on the outside as well. A house built in 1986 might as well be built in 1966. We did not have very high standards in this country in 1986. And if it's a builder grade house in 1986, my guess is it probably has thermoply sheathing. So that's not a great option. There's a lot of ways you can go, but let's talk about kind of good, better, best. Sheathing it with solid sheathing like a Huber zip system where you can really focus on air sealing. That's a really good way to get a lot of bang for your buck. And then, going with a modern double or triple glazed window compared to probably your single pane windows from 1986 is going to make a big difference. But I would focus on waterproofing first, making sure the house is really waterproof, and then focus on air sealing next. And then thirdly, focus on insulation. If you get the waterproofing right and the air sealing right, then your number one, your house is not going to rot and fall apart or have mold issues. Number two, if you get air sealing right, your house is going to be automatically much more comfortable than a leaky house. And then you can focus on insulation. Remember, insulation does not work well if air is flowing through it. So you're better off spending a little extra time and effort on air sealing details, and then what's left over getting into insulation. So, for instance, I get asked all the time, and I think this is actually one of the questions from down below about open cell or closed cell spray foam. Open cell spray foam over the years has kind of, as a product, touted itself as being a way to tighten your house envelope. But in fact, I've been very disappointed with the houses that I've done with open cell in terms of their blower door scores. They've certainly met code, but they weren't the kind of air tightness that I was hoping for. So the best systems I've found for air tightness have all been on the outside of the building. Really focusing on that outside envelope first is, I think, the most cost effective and the best way to add both energy efficiency and durability to your house. Okay, well, hopefully that helped you, brother. Um, Jimmy Phillips. Oh, Jimmy just popped this one in 29 minutes ago. Ventilation for an airtight home. If I have an ERV, does it run constantly and take fresh air in from the outside? What happens when a bathroom fan turns on or a kitchen exhaust turns on? Does the ERV start up immediately? Kind of a hard question to answer, Jimmy, because I don't know how your ERV is set up. If it's set up correctly, like my house is, the ERV should handle all of your fart fans and anything that's exhausting except for your kitchen hood. That's the way mine's set up. Go check out my Zender system videos if you want to kind of see that system. Now that is a very expensive kind of top of the line system. Not very expensive. That is a top of the line system, but the equipment's generally more expensive. I mean, you're talking about my house was about 10K's worth of equipment plus install. That's for everything you need. Now you could install it yourself, but that eliminated every single penetration in my house except for the 8-inch in and the 8-inch out. And I got rid of all my fart fans, any exhaust fans except for my kitchen exhaust. So, though, to answer your question, ERVs should run constantly. Yes, you want an ERV to run constantly. The only time you would not want an ERV to run constantly would be if you're on a typical like 9 to 5 job. There'd be an argument to be made to say you could turn off your ERV while you're gone and turn it back on when you're home. But an ERV should absolutely run all night long, especially when you're in the bedrooms, because that's the most amount of hours that you're spending indoors in your house is those nighttime hours. And I would not tie your ERV to your kitchen exhaust. Kitchen exhaust really should be their own thing and not tied to ERVs in any way, shape, or form. A kitchen exhaust should have a makeup air for a tight house, and that makeup air should supply the air that's being exhausted by that kitchen hood. And there's some ways to temper that air if it's really cold, if you're in a really cold climate, and some other ways to do it. But don't run it through your ERV. Okay, let's see. Travis Fleming has a great question. As a smaller builder myself, I've wondered how your company handles appraisal issues. I'm guessing your builds are either paid with cash or some clause is written in the contract about appraisal value. As a builder that tries to maintain a quality job with good products, it gets tiring having to explain to appraisers why this house isn't comparable to this or that entry level home. Gosh, Travis, that's a $1 million question. And I think any builder who's built things to a higher standard than just code has experienced that issue. If you're not familiar with what we're talking about, guys, what Travis is saying is he's got a buyer who wants to buy his house. I'm not sure whether Travis, you're talking about houses that are completed or not, but I'm going to assume this is it. And Travis's house is $50,000 more than the house down the street that has a comparable square footage. And Travis is telling the buyer, "Hey, we've got a a 1 ACH 50 blower door test, and I've got 50% more insulation than code dictates in your attic, and I've got a fresh air system, and I've got a high efficiency boiler system for your radiant hot, for your radiant heat and your hot water." All these things that I talk about in my videos are not found in the house that's selling at the market rate price per square foot. These are things that are in a well-built home, and people have to want to pay for them. And it's a dance that, I'm sorry to tell you, Travis, you're probably going to have to play your whole career, because I know I have. Now, the way my company works is I don't build anything on spec anymore. I don't know if you've heard my podcast. Go check out my podcast about my major burn I got during the last recession on spec houses. But I lost $300,000 on my last, $250,000 on my last speculative build that I started in 07 and sold in 2010. And so I won't do those anymore. But the way I work now is clients come to me, they hire me under a pre-construction agreement, and then I walk them through the bidding and estimating process. And then I present them with a final price to build the house. And it's something that we've typically worked on together. I've started with a high level estimate. They've reacted to that. Then once they go, okay, I'm comfortable in that zone, then they continue on the architecture. And then when the architect gets things a little bit more finished, then we do a more finished estimate, not a bid, an estimate. And now we might actually have some bids from cabinetry or from windows or things like that. So we can actually get much, much closer to the actual price of where the house is going to land. And then when we get final construction drawings, then we send the house out to our subs that we can get hard bids on. I don't hard bid everything though. If you've seen some of my videos, I don't hard bid several phases of the job because I don't want my subcontractors uh, to put a risky price in if there's things on that house that they're not sure how much it's going to cost, either material wise or time wise. So, for instance, my framing contractor, we sit down together and say, how many weeks of framing do we expect this house to be based on houses that we built that were similar? And we have all that historic data. And he gives me an estimate on the time, but he doesn't get paid on that estimate. I pay him on actual work time because I might get to the job and go, you know what? I don't like this or that was done, even though that's the way the plans show it or whatever. I want you to pull that out and we're going to do it this way instead. Or I know we had planned on this, but after some new information, let's do this, whatever it is. So I pay him the actual weekly rate on the job. So back to your question though, Travis, oftentimes when my clients get my final estimate on their job, even if it's cost plus, they're taking it to the bank and saying, "Okay, Mr. Banker, I've got X dollars in the bank, and I want you to fund the rest." Then the bank takes it to an appraiser, and I get a call from that appraiser saying, "Gosh, I just don't have comps for this." And that is actually a good thing for me when I talk to that appraiser because now I can say, "Okay, a couple things here. Number one, don't compare this house to other houses in this neighborhood that are lower price or not as exciting or whatever. What I want you to do is compare this house to other houses of this caliber." And oftentimes, because I'm doing houses with architects, I'm able to say, look, this is designed by this architecture firm, which typically sells their houses resell at a higher price per square foot than a house without an architect. And then now, because I've been in business so long, I could say, look, my houses, when they resell, my name is listed right on the listing, my company name. And so my houses sell at a higher price per square foot than standard houses. And so I'm able to talk with that appraiser and spend time with them and educate them and talk to them about where we're trying to head to on this. But in the end, the bottom line is oftentimes they don't get the appraisal they're looking for. And you know what that means? The buyer's got to come up with some cash or more cash than they wanted. The bank's only going to provide a 80% loan to value, let's say. And even though the house is for sale for $1 million, if the appraisal comes back at $900,000, well, 80% of 900,000, whatever that number is different than 80% of $1 million. So now that's where the rubber meets the road, Travis. And you need to make sure that those clients are willing to front that extra cash for your house, for a Fleming house, a better built house, a house that's going to have good indoor air quality, a house that their kids are going to be safe and comfortable in, a house that's going to have lower utility bills, but more importantly, a house that's going to be durable and efficient and not have mold problems and is going to be in fantastic shape when they go to sell that house in 5 and 10 and 20 years down the road because it's a better built house. So you gotta fight for that, man. I'm sorry to tell you. Okay, we spent a lot of time on that. Let me do something over here real quick if I can. I'm going to change the Q&A back to my camera. Check this out. I feel so techie after I learned how to do this. And now I can take the Q&A over to here. How about that? Cool. All right, y'all. If you missed the beginning of this session, to catch up to speed, I'm not in my new house. I'm not even in my old house. I'm in a rental house. This is a rental house in my neighborhood. It's a huge blessing. There's a great God story here about how God provided a rental house after needing it at the last minute, but uh, not in the new house yet. Very much looking forward to being there, but not there yet. I'm kind of stuck on the slow train at the moment. My painter is basically a three-man crew right now, or two-man crew, and so I'm super bummed that I'm not totally in yet, but we'll get there. My Caesar stone countertops arrive this coming Friday, and now that my Caesar stone, or once my countertops get in, that's really the race to the finish for me because I've got two huge backsplash areas in my master bath and my kitchen that need to be installed. And then once those are installed, I can put final plugs on and final electrical. I have a bunch of lights in those tile areas. And once I get all those in, then I can get an electric meter. And then we're kind of racing towards the finish line and putting plumbing fixtures in. And once the meter gets on, I can start and check my HVAC system. So very excited to finish, but I'm not there yet. Would you guys be interested in kind of an update video on the real rebuild? I have not made a video specifically about the progress in a while, and I've been thinking about kind of a therapeutic video talking about some of the pandemic woes that I've experienced on my personal build that my clients are wary of, I should say, or weary of, just like I am. That it's just taken way too long to finish things. Some of my trades who are trusted tradesmen that I've used for a long, long time are, they're swamped and they're waiting on parts and they're finishing houses 70% to go back and finish parts that are missing later, which screws them all up. I'm seeing lots of yeses over there. Thank you, Michael. With three exclamation points behind your yes, I will. I'll do that. Sounds good. Um, yeah. Well, guys, we should probably wrap this up. Any final questions? Did I miss some good questions on there? I'm gonna end the poll. Sell immediately is what most of you said. The only bummer is I think it's going to be a real hard time getting a replacement Suburban if I sell that thing. But the good news is I think that I'll get top dollar for that thing. So that'll be good. All right, anything else here? Michael Cocker says, I've been wanting to see more of your current build, maybe an episode of what you have done differently. Ooh, that's a good one. I wonder if I can access these comments later so I can see these. These are good ideas, people. What I would do different. That's a great one. And pandemic update is a good one. Okay, any Swiss content coming from Oscar? No travel overseas yet. However, the same people that sponsored my Switzerland trip were sponsoring a trip for me to go to Sweden and Denmark that was supposed to happen last spring and got canceled. So we're hoping that that will happen in the future. I don't know when that's going to happen, but hopefully. Uh, TXReb06 said, can you say hi to my wife, Stephanie? She's a huge fan. Stephanie, that is crazy. I love it. You know, my audience is like 95 or 6% men. So thank you, Stephanie, for being a fan of the Build Show. It's kind of you. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the $5. I will throw that in my kids' college fund. Um, what else? What else do we need to talk about, y'all? I kind of figured we'd go till 10:30, so we got like 5 minutes. I don't want to go too late. Y'all need to go to bed, probably. Especially you East Coasters. It's 11:24 East Coast. My West Coast friends are still ramping up for the night, aren't they? My wife was on my wife takes about once a quarter or so a weekend away just for herself to do kind of a personal retreat, to have some Bible study and prayer time and quiet times, and also not to have the kids hanging on her all weekend. And that's what we did this weekend. So I figured this was a good time to do this. Should I do this more often? Do you like Q&As? I've been talking literally nonstop for the last hour. Is this dumb? I don't know. I've always been hesitant to do them because I've always felt like YouTube videos were really good when I had a very specific topic. And I'm not a gamer. You're not watching me game. But it is kind of fun to see the chat come through and see what you guys are saying. I'm sorry I can't respond to everybody on those chats, but Will said he's watching this in bed. I love it, Will. That's hilarious. It's Saturday. Keep going from Michael. Hilarious. All right, I'm seeing a bunch of yeses on this. So maybe I should do this more often. Tony, go to bed. My Florida boy needs to get some sleep. Uh, Someone said get an F series or better or an Expedition. I like Fords. I got nothing against Fords. I've just happened to buy Chevys more of late, or actually I've never owned a Ford, but I do like them. They seem like they have some good stuff. I've kind of a cool thing coming up, y'all. I joined the Texas Motor Press. You saw I did a Nissan Titan review a while back, kind of out of the blue. I've always liked trucks. I'm a huge truck guy. Before I became a builder in college, actually, I studied industrial management and wanted to work for Toyota. And so I had a fellow YouTuber um, who's based here in Texas who does car reviews. I met him at a party at a buddy's house, actually literally across the street from here. And he is the president of the Texas Motor Press. We started talking. I told him I love the trucks. And he basically said, look, why don't you join the Texas Motor Press? And then, every once in a while you can do a truck review, something that's right up your alley. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to the Texas Truck Roundup, which is at an off-road park in Houston. And apparently all the peeps are going to be there. The Fords, the Nissans, the brand new Toyota Tundra is going to be there. All the major truck manufacturers. I doubt Tesla's Cybertruck will be there, but I suspect, oh, get a Rivian, yeah. But I suspect that the F-150 Lightning will be there, and it's at an off-road park, so I'm going to get to drive these things on some kind of off-road track. I'm psyched for that. I think that's going to be super fun. So stay tuned for a video on that. When I did that Titan review, I said, I'm going to review this as a builder would review it, thinking like, okay, number one, this is my mobile office. So how does this truck work in terms of kind of mobile office truck? How does it work in terms of load haul and utility that a truck needs? And then, of course, I'm still also, even though I'm a builder, I'm a dad and a father. So what is it? How does it work on the weekends? Because I only have two vehicles in my family: a pickup truck and a family hauler, either a Suburban or now currently a minivan. So I need that thing to be multi-purpose and to seat six as well for me. Um, I see a question coming in from Nathan. Let me answer this one. Nathan 87, I'm assuming that means you were born in 1987, says, I have a question. I'm a DIY worker, DIY working pretty much on my own in a renovation that was meant to take 6 months. But long story short, has gone on a few years. Unfortunately, because of this time scale, it's really starting to affect my life. And if I'm honest, my mental health. Do you have any tips for psychologically getting through a tough project? Oh man, my Nathan, that's a hard one, dude. Projects that take too long are brutal. I think that if we posed that same question to everybody in the comments here, they would all agree that they've probably taken on a project that they thought would take X amount of time, and it took them 3X that amount of time. Whether it's a 6 month project or a 2 weekend project, I think that's totally normal. So, number one, don't beat yourself up. But one option is cry uncle. Get your friends involved. My hope is that you've got a bunch of handy friends, and I've called in lots and lots of favors over the years with the handy friends, and also been willing to do handy favors for other friends. So that'd be something that I'd recommend is tap your friend base, talk to your buddies at church, figure out who might be willing to help you, and volunteer to help them as well. Maybe getting out to your friend's project next weekend rather than working on yours would actually be a good mental break for you, so that you could conjure it up. Let's see, any other questions over here on the Q&A that I need to pop into? Some other people are saying the same thing to you, by the way, Nate. Joe Sheeter says family and friends for sure. Someone says lots of alcohol. I would disagree. Don't go down that route. That's funny. Any thoughts on my remodel question? I must have missed that. I'm not sure which remodel question you're having. Um, Currently doubling. Chris Swoda says, currently doubling my house while living in it. 4 kids. We ordered windows March 1st. Still don't have them. Living in Minnesota. What would you do? Oh my gosh, Chris. Dang, dude. Live-in remodels are a bear, and I don't do them as a company because they're so hard. Oh, I'm not sure what to say, man. Um, that's a really, really hard one, man. I would the only thing I would say would be, uh, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So call that supplier at least once a week or email them this week, call them next, and let them know that you're really, really looking forward to getting those windows and what your personal situation is currently, especially if you have 4 kids. Um, Someone says Shoshugibon, both sides for protection like termites. If not, why not? If you're doing Shoshugibon, I would only do one side. You don't need a Shoshugibon both sides. Usually, the Shishugibon is protecting not from termites, although maybe that could help, but it's protecting it from igniting again. It's an ancient Japanese technique of charring the wood because charred wood is harder to light than new, fresh wood. So, burning the backside doesn't give you any benefit, and if anything, is going to only make installation harder and potentially make the material more brittle. So I would not bother doing the backside if you're Shishugi bonding. Let's see what else we got here. Gosh, all of a sudden, lots of questions. Shout out from Lake Flato Architects. Who's that? Who's from Lake Flato? Sorry, I lost your comment here. All of a sudden, I saw shout out from Lake Flato. Kurt Kinsey. I love watching the Build Show, doing work from home these days. Lots of great content. Love that you share your faith. Keep up the great work. Appreciate that, Kurt. I try never to shy away from saying the name Jesus on my channels. I'm a born again Christian, and I try to share my faith journey as honestly as possible, my ups and downs and my failures. I've had lots of them, and my wins. So appreciate that. And by the way, for those of you who don't know Lake Flato, amazing architecture firm in San Antonio, and we're doing a project with them right now. That's the Bensonwood project. If you've seen any of those videos, the house that has the insulated concrete slab, the architect is Lake Flato on that one. So hope to meet you someday, Kurt. Thanks for popping in, man. Um, let's see here. Any other questions here? I got 10:33. We're past time. What steps can you take to improve the air seal of an aging home? Let's answer that one as our final one. How about that? Steps to air seal in an aging home. Check out my Insulation 2.0 video. I made that one maybe a year and a half ago. And man, that's a really comprehensive video talking about air sealing, especially from the most leaky part, which is the lid. Hot air rises, and that stack effect wants to pull air through our attics. So if you can air seal at that top plate, at that air barrier at the top of your house, that's going to be your best bet. And short of that, I mentioned this earlier, but aero barrier could work on an old house. It's messy for a house that's occupied. So if you could move out, or if you're doing work in between owners, that's a great time to do it. But that could certainly do it. Nathan, looking forward to connecting one day in the Great White North. Hey, Nathan, good to hear from you, brother. Nathan, you should go follow him on Instagram. Fantastic builder, carpenter based out of Vancouver. I met him when I went on that awesome Vancouver trip that SIGA sponsored. When was that? December before the pandemic. That was a really fun trip. I was super impressed with what was happening builder wise in Vancouver, British Columbia. Really, really interesting area. And by the way, they have this thing called step codes where builders already know what the building code is going to be in 2030 and are able to say to clients, hey guys, the building code 8 years from now is going to require this, this, and this. Why don't you go ahead and upgrade now? It's another, 5, 10, 15, whatever, $1,000 more to do that. But if we do that, then your house that I'm going to build you in 2022 is going to meet code when you resell it, even if you sold it in 2030. That's pretty cool. The other thing that's happening in Vancouver, British Columbia, that I think we will hear more about in the future is, as of, I forget what year, either 2025 or 2030, they're going to be outlawing all natural gas connections to new construction, and they're going to outlaw the resale of natural gas appliances. So if you got a house built in the 80s and you want to change your gas stove out or your gas water heater, you're not going to be able to do that because they've outlawed the sale of those appliances. You're going to have to switch over to electric. You're going to have to go to a heat pump water heater, for instance, or an induction cooktop or a heat pump furnace instead of a gas furnace. And I suspect that California will probably jump on board from that not too long from that period of time. And what happens in California, like many trends, moves its way east. So I think it's a matter of time before we aren't allowed to have natural gas connections on American homes as well. And frankly, it makes a lot of sense to go all electric. And if you see my videos, my new house is all electric. The only thing that I'll have that will be natural gas is potentially a standby generator in the back of the house and a log lighter on my outdoor fireplace and a gas stub out from my Weber gas grill. And that's about it. Everything else runs extremely efficiently on electric. And oh, by the way, I can put a solar array on my roof and basically have a net zero house where I don't have any electricity bill through the course of the year. So that's where I'm headed. And no matter what your political leanings are, I think that that's the wave of the future. All right. Whew, that was a heck of a way to end. Let's call it quits, guys. I really appreciate your support, my friends. Thank you for all you guys do to comment and to hit that like button. Thank you for all the chat over here, too. A ton of you are chatting it up. Oh, check it out. Joey Jones says the UK has banned all fossil fuels on new homes as of 2030. Yeah, I believe it. Hey, check it out. Daniel got AeroBear on his new house in Louisville, Kentucky. Thanks for letting me know, Daniel. That's awesome, dude. Congrats. That's huge. Good stuff. If I didn't catch any of you guys, Sydney Bass, Matt, thanks for your time. Lots of fun. Best wishes on your house completion and the Suburban. Guys, if you don't know it, I do some one-on-one consults, usually for people that are in the middle of a build or planning a build or a remodel. I'm kind of expensive. I charge $200 an hour. But if you're interested in hiring me for that, I would love to spend 30 minutes on a Zoom call with you, talking through your plans, talking through an issue you've got, giving you some advice, or helping you with specifications or what should I use. I always love talking building science. If you're interested in scheduling me for that, use my hello@reisingerbuild.com email address, and I'd be glad to schedule some time with you. Most of the time, I can help people in 30 minutes. Occasionally, some people hire me for a few hours of time to kind of help consult on a bigger project, a new build in some other part of the country. Happy to help you with that. But it sounds like you guys like this Q&A. We had a pretty good stream. We had like 500 people on most of the time. Pretty fun. And I made $5 too. Someone paid me $5 to give a shout out to their wife. How cool is that? All right, my friends. I appreciate your time. You guys have a great Saturday night. Thank you for all the support. Many blessings to you and your families. And I'll have a video out on Tuesday for you. So you guys have a great night. I'll see you guys soon. Catch y'all later. Bye now. Nicholas, you don't charge enough. Raise your prices. Thanks, Nicholas. I appreciate that. Love when you make comments about Canada weather builds. I need to do that more often, don't I? Yeah. Yeah, maybe I should charge more than $200. I appreciate the comments, guys. That's kind of y'all. I want it to be affordable for people that, um, need the help, but I don't want to be so cheap that I'm on the phone all the time for, uh, in a missing family time. I mean, that's why I did this stream tonight. I've got two kids that are at a church retreat. My wife's off on a retreat. My two younger boys that are 9 and 11 are asleep. So I'm not missing anything to do this. And so that's why I did this live event on a Saturday night. But, anyways, night, guys. I'll catch y'all later. So fun to see the comments. Really, really cool. You guys are so great. We got the best fans here in the Build Show. Brad, I wish you could give me a little on the Build Show. See you guys.